pretend legal expert on the pretend cable channel CNN. He's a legal analyst, don't you know? And he's very concerned about this. As a matter of fact, he all but regurgitated Ruth Bader Ginsburg's preposterous dissent. Cut 4, go.
And in fact, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dissenting opinion is devoted to the proposition that it's not narrow, that the idea that a privately held company can exercise religious beliefs in deciding which benefits and which customers to deal with is potentially a very broad idea.
Stop. Did they decide which customers they could deal with? See, they're trying to throw this back to the 50s and the 60s. Blacks not being served on a luncheonette in the South. Things like that. This has nothing to do with this. They can't control themselves. They can't help it. They can't help it. Or they don't want to help it. This has nothing to do with customers that you serve. That, seems to me, will be a different liberty battle involving, for instance, a bakery that refuses to bake a cake for a gay wedding. Now, let me ask you a question. If you're gay, why would you use that bakery? There's what, 4 billion of them? Why do you want to force your will on somebody who disagrees with you? I mean, I don't do that myself. I don't say, oh, there's a liberal, I'm going to go into their dinette and I'm going to torment them. Why? I don't care. It's not live and let live anymore. It's live and do what I say. But regardless of what you think about that, this has nothing to do with that. And so you know when the left has lost the argument, when they're trying to drag in issues that have nothing to do with what's been decided here. And look how they twist it. That a company can exercise religious beliefs in deciding which benefits and which customers to deal with is potentially a very broad deal. Has nothing to do with customers to deal with. Has to do with a family-owned business, a closely held business, meaning it's not even a public business. The people put their own money into it. They created their own enterprise. They put their own sweat in it, and they don't want to pay the money they earn through their business for abortions. Oh, my God, what a broad decision. What next? What next? Do we have to revisit all of our civil rights issues? Oh, my God, what are we going to do? And keep in mind, nobody's denying anybody access to these drugs. Matter of fact, they're more available than ever before. And there are more entities willing to pay to subsidize them than ever before. You're paying to subsidize them because Planned Parenthood gets a crap load of money from me and you. The problem here is there's no tolerance whatever from the radical left. They insist that everybody, regardless of religious beliefs, pay for their policies, pay for their agenda, even though there are alternatives. Many of them. It's not good enough. You are to give up your faith in this regard, whether you like it or not. So the government is replacing faith. The government's replacing religion. The government is trouncing all over the First Amendment. And they have the gall to turn it around and claim it is they who are arguing for individual liberty. They're not. They're arguing for the iron fist of government that crushes all dissenters. Go ahead, please.
In fact, she points out that there are religious owners of companies who believe in the separation of the races. And
Stop. Really? She points that out? Wow. And didn't we address that once before, Jeffrey? Oh, I think we did. And do you remember the 14th Amendment, Jeffrey? Oh, I think we do. And what does the 14th Amendment do, Jeffrey? Well, it prevents all that kind of stuff. That's not even on the table, Jeffrey. That was addressed, dealt with, kaput. Why would you bring that up now, Jeffrey? I thought you were a legal commentator. Go.
People and white people should not be together. Should their religious beliefs be honored?
Oh, stop. That was Jeff. Yellow. Jeffrey, that was dealt with, too. We know the case you're talking about in Virginia. A black and white couple getting married. That was addressed, Jeffrey. That's been dealt with. What does that have to do with paying for abortion drugs by people who have a legitimate objection to it? In other words, it's not bigotry, it's not racism, it's not hatred, it's what their religion teaches them, Jeffrey. And what's amazing about this, ladies and gentlemen, these drugs are $10, $20, $5, depending where you go. They're sold everywhere. So it's not as if you're actually prevented from getting these drugs. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey, let me help you out with your logic, or illogic in your case. The parallel would be, Jeffrey, If I'm required to pay for somebody's cake, if two people of the same sex want to get married, if I'm required to pay for that cake, I don't want to pay for that cake. I don't want to pay for anybody's cake. But I don't want to pay for that cake. Well, you have to. Why? Because it's the law. And if you don't, you're discriminating. I'm not discriminating. They can get the cake on their own, or they can get it somewhere. No. Mark, you have to buy them that cake. You understand, Jeffrey? Really, if you're going to be the legal analyst at CNN, get your act together, pal. You sound like an idiot. Go ahead.
People of conviction and faith who believe that homosexuality is evil and immoral and don't want to engage in business with gay people and don't want to photograph their weddings and don't want to provide food to their weddings.
Isn't that it? Oh, okay. Now, that's different. Again, has absolutely nothing to do with this decision. But it is bizarre to me that this is brought up. And this is the slippery slope, as they say. So you buy into the entire left agenda, or you are going to be compelled to buy into the entire left agenda. Most people just want to be left alone to live their own life. This would not be an issue, but for the fact that Obamacare is compelling people to purchase things they don't want, whether they like it or not. Whether they like it or not. So again, Jeffrey, legal analyst, CNN, your parallel, your comparison is wrong. The comparison would be if, let's see, what did he say? Same-sex marriage, if you don't want to sell. I already did that. Cakes or whatever. The comparison would be that you and I have to buy the cake. I don't want to buy the cake. As a matter of fact, let's pretend it's not even on religious grounds. I don't want to buy the damn cake. Buy your own cake. Buy your own pills. Buy your own abortifides or whatever the hell they call that stuff. Buy it yourself. Since when did this become part of the massive welfare state? People can't eat? That's one thing. People need clothing? That's one thing. People need basic medicine? That's one thing. But now I'm paying for condoms? That's another thing. Now I'm paying for abortions? That's another thing. And it's not like there's not enough people out there who will pay for them. Liberal Democrats, many Democrats, liberal Republicans, right? State agencies, federal agencies, Planned Parenthood, unplanned parenthood. So those issues aren't even debatable anymore. Let's continue, shall we? Go ahead.
Could take advantage of these rulings.
Shut up. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Now we have John Not Ernest, the latest White House spokes idiot. Josh, what did I call him? John? Whatever. Josh Not Ernest, the White House press briefing today. Let's hear what he had to say. Cut 3, go.
What we have been able to assess so far, based on the preliminary reading of that decision, is that there is a problem that has been exposed, which is that there are now a group of women of an indeterminate size who no longer have access to free contraceptive coverage simply because of some religious views that are held, not by them necessarily, but by their bosses.
All right, let's stop. We just said that 16 out of 20 contraceptives that are available on the market are available and are paid for by Hobby Lobby. The 4 that aren't involve post-fertilization, that is, abortion. He says, we don't know how many people, how many women will no longer have these free benefits. Well, maybe none. I don't know. There's some small percentage. Are there any intrepid reporters left out there? Are there any investigative reporters out there? How much money are we talking about here if somebody wants to buy one of these drugs? I've heard it said $9. I've heard $15, $20. What the hell is it? Because you'd think the whole earth was coming to an end. There are people, literally, who are dying from cancer under Obamacare, who lost their doctors, who lost their coverage, who lost their medicine. I mean, real-life situations with an enormous amount of money involved. And here we're debating this. Like this is, oh my God, this is a civil rights issue. This is no civil rights issue. This is pathetic. Pathetic. Now we have another idiot, Xavier Becerra. I got to answer them on Fox News Sunday. And by the way, shame on them. This Sunday show was awful with Rove and Hume tag teaming the Tea Party. Fed up with it. That's why I don't watch them anymore. I'm not watching any of them anymore. Why don't you have a conservative on there to address them? And why is Rove all over there anyway with his own business agenda? I'm getting a zillion inquiries from people about this. Don't blame me. Contact Fox. What do you want from me? I don't run it. Xavier Becerra, Democrat, California. Cut 5. Go.
The government will not violate anyone's religious beliefs, but no one has the right to discriminate against a woman because of her own beliefs.
Stop. How are you discriminating against a woman for her own beliefs? If that woman conducted herself in a way which she got impregnated, she still has access to over-the-counter drugs at a minimal fee. Who is stopping her? Who's stopping her from the behavior? Who's stopping her from getting the drugs? Who's stopping her from getting the abortion? And now the argument is, you and I have to pay for all this. And this idiot, like the rest of them, Becerra, going on about somehow we are attacking women because we want to hold on to our own wallets. And by the way, men and women want to hold on to their own wallets. Oh my God, they're attacking her religious beliefs. They're attacking our religious beliefs or our faith beliefs or our moral beliefs. Nobody's bothering this lady. She got pregnant. She wants to get rid of the pregnancy. I don't even know who she is. Oh, the decline in this country and the irrationality in this country is just beyond description. Go ahead.
That the Supreme Court will find that no business should be allowed to discriminate against women, and we've gone beyond that.
Stop. This is just, folks, this is just so much politics, it's just beyond belief. It's all political. The party of Bill Clinton, accused of rape and sexual molestation, a true blue pervert. He's the most popular Democrat in the country. And I can go on and on and on with their perverts and their women abusers. Oh, the Lion of the Senate. Ted Kennedy. Oh, Orrin Hatch. Oh, that Ted Kennedy. Oh, John McCain. Woe is me. Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy was a sleazeball, may I say, with all due respect. Yes, I did. And remember Chappaquiddick. But no. If you don't want to pay for somebody's post-fertilization abortion drugs, no, you'll pay for the 16 to prevent fertilization. But post-fertilization, those 4 drugs, you don't pay for that. You're imposing your religious views on. No, I'm not. She can still get. You got to pay for it. I'm telling you, this Obamacare, it's going to bleed into all other areas of society. Obamacare, as I said before, it was a revolution. It destroyed what was left of individual rights, individual protections against big government. It really did. And you can hear all these phony civil libertarians on the left. They want the iron fist of government to crush anybody who will not subsidize their agenda, their beliefs, their values, or lack thereof. And this tiny little opinion that barely touches it, please, that barely touches it. Hillary Clinton, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Unbelievable. All of you folks out there who want access to contraceptives and post-fertilization abortion drugs, you can still get them, like M&Ms. Just that 4 of them won't be paid for if you're an employee of a certain type of closely held company, which is a very tiny percentage of the workforce. So everybody else, you'll have your post-abortion drugs paid for, your pre-fertilization drugs paid for, so you can celebrate. Now look how precisely I put that. Have you heard that from anybody today? Now, so you should be very, very happy. So you'll have a big night tonight, mostly paid by the rest of us. Now, for the rest of us, the constitutionalists, this was not a great day. It could have been worse, because we got itsy-bitsy step back on Obamacare. But the fact of the matter is, the religious liberty part of the First Amendment is not safe. Everybody else whose faith or religious beliefs or whatever, your moral beliefs, says, no, I don't want to pay for this stuff. You're out of luck. But it's not good enough for the iron-fisted statists. No. Everybody must buckle. Uniformity, conformity, centralization. That's the name of the game. We cannot have independence, none whatsoever. We cannot allow people with the religious beliefs to trump what we, the modern-day masterminds, demand. No. But wait a minute. I like the health care I had. I like the doctor I had. I like the policy that I was paying. Can't have that. Wait a minute. But I want that. No, can't have it. I need access to my heart drugs. And I can't get them at the price I want to get them. And I'm even paying for the insurance. Can't get it. What are you talking about? Condoms, yes. Lipitor, no. Oh. There you have Ameritopia, ladies and gentlemen. The whacked-out leftists running things. Now, let's get back to this case, Harris versus Quinn. Quinn would be the moronic Democrat governor of Illinois. A real putz. I say with all due respect. Those of you who don't know what putz is, it's a Yiddish term. You can Google it. Now, 5-4 decision. Justice Alito, writing for the majority, Roberts, Thomas, Scalia, and Kennedy, held the First Amendment prohibits the collection of agency fees, that is union dues, from personal assistants, that is individuals who provide home care services who don't want to join or support a union. What does Hillary Clinton have to say about that? Isn't that an individual liberty? I don't want to join a union. You must, and you must pay the dues, but I don't want to. Not, sorry. You must do what we say. We need the dues to run our campaigns. And besides, don't you want free condoms? No? Well, too bad. Now, frankly, folks, this is another very, very tiny win, and individual liberty suffers. And it's obvious that Alito had to cobble together a majority, and then again, he probably had Roberts as the weak link. This is a loss for public sector unions in that they cannot compel certain types of employees, those who are considered less than full-fledged public employees, to pay agency fees. But it's really not a total loss by any means, because the court did not invalidate the collection of agency fees from all public sector employees. See, there was this 1977 decision called Abood versus Detroit Board of Education. And in that decision, the Supreme Court ruled public sector employees, like teachers, who elect not to join a union, such as the NEA, are still obligated to pay agency fees to the union. Well, I don't want to be a member, okay? And I don't want to pay their fees. Too bad. What? Agency fees cover the cost of bargaining and negotiating the collective bargaining agreement. They represent the interests of employees in settling disputes. This is the rationale. So the rationale behind the Abood decision is to avoid free riders, those public employees who elect not to join the union but derive the benefits from the union's bargaining. Now, let's stop right there for a moment. Isn't free will more important than enslaving somebody to a union? If they don't want to be a member of the union, they are enslaved to a union. Yeah, but they get the benefits. Well, maybe a lot of the members don't want to be members of the union. Maybe a majority of the members don't want to be members of the union. What then? Too bad. Once a union, always a union. Now, conservatives disagree with Abood because agency fees, that are these dues, are used by unions to offset other costs, enabling the union, such as the NEA, to use actual union dues to fund advocacy and political activities. So a lot of it doesn't go toward representation and negotiation for benefits. A lot of it goes to Democrats. It's a scam. So the hope was the court would have taken the opportunity to overturn Abood, ruling that compelling any type of employee, public or private, to pay agency fees violates the First Amendment. The decision today in Harris versus Quinn doesn't go that far. Now, Alito strongly criticizes the rationale in Abood, but he doesn't overturn its application to full-fledged public employees because it's obvious he didn't have the votes. But he does distinguish the employees in Harris, personal assistants, from full-fledged public employees. While the state, subsidized by federal Medicaid program, does pay the personal assistants' salaries, customers exercise control over their employment relationship with personal assistants, he said. So other than providing compensation, the state's role is comparatively small. And the state denies personal assistants most of the rights and benefits enjoyed by full-fledged state workers. So there's no practical purpose to compel these types of employees from paying agency fees. They don't get full union representation. They don't want full union representation. There's nothing to subsidize, really, in terms of the union. But when you have a Democrat machine in Illinois and public sector unions like the SEIU, what they try to do is ensnare more and more free individuals into their web. Compelling these personal assistants to pay agency fees, that is union dues, would have been a grotesque overreach. In this case, the public sector union, the notorious SEIU, has no power to bargain for them. It has no power to bargain for their wages, their working conditions, grievance procedures. In other words, the concerns about this free rider, in this case, don't exist. There are no free riders. The people providing services were not supervised in any way by the state, but only reimbursed for their services by the state. So this would have been a huge source of coerced membership and revenue for the SEIU, which is the union designated by Illinois for public employees. Would have required thousands of people, mostly lower-income people, to pay dues in return for which they would receive essentially nothing from the union, because the union doesn't bargain for them. So simply put, these union fees collected from these personal assistants would have been a boondoggle, just extra funds to offset costs for the union participating in politics. And that violates the First Amendment right of those who elect not to join the union. Now, that was a 5-4 vote. The 4 leftist activist justices would extend the obligations in this Abood decision to these type of personal assistants. So essentially, if you're paid by the state, you're considered a public sector employee, and you must either join a union or pay a fee to that union. So who is it that's for liberty, ladies and gentlemen? Those two decisions. Is it Mr. Alito or Ms. Ginsburg? Mr. Alito, who says, in these 4 post-fertilization abortion drugs, for this very, very small community of closely held private companies, if you choose to work there, they'll pay for all these 16 other contraceptives, but those 4 post-fertilization abortion drugs you have to pay for yourself. Oh, my God! It's the lunch counter civil rights movement all over again. And then in this union case, a mother taking care of her son. The Democrat machine in Illinois with the SEIU. Oh, you're going to be a member of the union. Well, you don't negotiate my wages, my benefits. I just get paid by the state for my services. Too damn bad. We need the money. We got a lot of campaigns to run here, you know. So who are the totalitarians here? And who are the freedom fighters here? I think it's quite obvious. I think it's as obvious as can be. And keep something in mind, as I said earlier. Yes, the Hobby Lobby decision is a minor setback for Obamacare and Obama. They'll find a way around it to fund these very, very important post-fertilization abortion drugs. Notice what I call them. Even if Planned Parenthood and 1,000 other groups won't pay for them, and even if individuals won't pay for them given their de minimis cost, you and I somehow must pay for them. What do you think this is, America? Meanwhile, in that case, damage was done to religious liberty under the First Amendment, given how narrow the decision was, despite the howls and whines of the left. And in this union case, really, should it even have been a court decision? Because you have politicians and union thug bosses getting together to try and force people into their union who don't want to be members of their union, don't even benefit from the union? I mean, that's the issue. These cases only come about because we live in a soft tyranny that's becoming an increasingly oppressive tyranny. I don't want to pay for your abortion drugs, and I don't want to join your union. Too damn bad. Too damn bad. Ameritopia is here. You'll do what we say. And the Supreme Court did what it did, cobbled together a majority under Alito, but it is a very thin majority. Quite frankly, it's a very weak majority. I can read between the lines. I see what happened in these 2 cases. Alito even said in the public sector union case that Abood was a bad decision. It's obvious he didn't have any kind of help that he needed to overturn it. The idea that, we have to pay for those post-fertilization abortion drugs is somehow a company imposing its will on somebody is absolutely nuts.